Greetings, Zimbabwe, Africa, and the world. Welcome to In Conversation with Trevor, brought to you by the Zimbabwe Human Rights Association. I go beyond the headlines and beyond the sensational. This week, we launch the Devolution series. The 2013 Zimbabwe Constitution introduced the devolution concept in order to increase popular participation in decision-making. Our first guest in the Devolution series is the former Kadoma mayor and the current Kadoma Central Constituency Member of Parliament, Muchi Chinyanganya. Enjoy this informative conversation. Honourable Muchi Chinyanganya, welcome to In Conversation with Trevor.
Thank you, Mr. Ncube.
So this is the first of a series of 6 episodes where we're going to be discussing the concept of devolution. The Constitution of 2013 has made a very strong position that devolution becomes a provision for our country. So I'm excited by your experience, Honourable, that you've had, starting off as the deputy mayor for Kadoma and then becoming the mayor of Kadoma. And now you are in parliament. So you have started at the bottom in terms of devolution. You know the frustrations that people at the lower end of government, particularly local government, are experiencing. Just talk to me now, Honourable, about what that experience has given you in terms of looking at devolution.
Thank you, Trevor. To begin with, being in council exposes one to the needs that the people require each and every day of their lives. And this is very important when it comes to devolution, because devolution, we're looking at the powers that the central government has being cascaded to the provinces and to the local authorities. So my experience in council has given me great exposure in terms of what the people at the local level require and what they expect the central government to do.
Talk to me about those things that people at the local level require. Can we just break down those issues? What are those issues?
At the local level, people expect constant supply of potable water. They expect their garbage to be collected once a week. They expect to see their environment clean. That is, no raw sewage flowing in their homes. They expect to see their suburbs lit, that we're talking about public lighting. They expect to see their roads accessible, no potholes, roads being graded and being paved time and again, also being resurfaced. They expect to get decent accommodation. That is the provision of tents where they can build their homes, and also getting built up homes already. They also expect to see the provision of primary healthcare services. They also expect to have recreational facilities, especially the youth. You know, nowadays there is unemployment, and recreation is the only way where the youth can spend their time, doing. We also expect the local people expect to see different forms of empowerment, be it the industries being opened, and also, those who cannot afford to be employed in industries, having somewhere where they can work, talking about the small industries. So basically, those are the expectations of the people at the local level.
Those expectations, Muchi, are social, economic, and are political. So they cut all across the entire aspects of the community. Am I right?
Yes, that's true.
Now, given the fact that you're now in Parliament and you're looking at Kadoma from a much more a higher position, what are you seeing as going to be the likely impact of devolution, for instance, for people in Kadoma, for instance, with those kind of challenges that you're talking about?
Devolution will be a game changer, because we are looking at the budgets being made at the local and provincial levels, and resources being channeled to the provinces and local authorities. Unlike the situation whereby the central government will just make the budget, and and local authorities are having to come up with their own means to sustain those services, and failing to meet the demands or the expectations of the local people. So devolution will, in a big way, help in augmenting the local authorities' coffers, because big amounts of money is now being channeled towards a local level for development purposes, which used to happen in the past through public sector investment, PSIPs. But now it's coming in the form of devolution funds.
So there is a tension that I can see, which could be a healthy tension. It could be unhealthy in a way, between the people on the ground and central government. You talk about resources being allocated at a lower level. You talk about certain powers that central government has, which must be devolved to the lower level, to the grassroots. What do you think? Are you concerned about that tension, or are you finding ways of overcoming that tension as you reflect on how devolution is going to be implemented?
The tension will always be there. But in a positive way, it's going to be helpful. Of course, there are some within the central government that are reluctant to implement devolution for the sole purpose of not wanting the provinces and the local authorities to get money to implement devolution, because they would have in the past, they are the ones that would be calling the shots. So losing power, it's painful.
Right, I can imagine that. So how are you going to negotiate that? And how strong is that tension? How are you going to negotiate that? You're taking power away from people in central government to the people in the grassroots. There's going to be resentment to that. You're taking away resources from central government to the local government. There's going to be resentment to that. How are you going to smooth over that?
Well, the people spoke in 2013 during the constitutional making process, and that's why devolution was affected into the constitution in section 264 of the constitution. So there can be delays, but then it will certainly happen. Like already the government has started distributing devolution funds to the provinces and to the local authorities, though it is illegal because there is no enabling act in place. But the people, the grassroots, they do not care about that. What they really want to see is development, but the government should just do the right thing, come up with the provincial and metropolitan Councils Act, and also should amend the Urban Councils Act and the Rural District Councils Act, so that the right things are done.
But so at the moment, those amendments have not yet been effected, am I right?
Yes, they haven't been effected. I sit in the local government portfolio committee. We are yet to see those bills. What I know is that the Urban Councils Act has been amended because we went through the process when I was the mayor. So I don't know what's stopping the ministry from bringing the bill to Parliament. The provincial councils and metropolitan councils act there is no talk of that at the moment. But that is the most critical piece of legislation to kickstart devolution.
So from what you're saying, that piece of legislation on its own, that kind of amendment to empower the local councils to be able to effect devolution has not been put in place. What's your timeline? What is your expectation in terms of when that is going to be done, so that the allocations that you're talking about right now stop being illegal, but are seen to be widespread across the country?
I think that is the loophole that was made during the constitutional making process. If we compare the Zimbabwean constitution to the Kenyan constitution, when the Kenyan constitution was done and devolution was introduced in the constitution, there was a timeline that was given. It stated specifically that the devolution process should be completed within 6 months. But the Zimbabwean constitution, it's silent on that, and it actually states that. Let me quote. It says that whenever appropriate, governmental powers and responsibilities must be devolved to provincial and metropolitan councils. So the keywords are whenever appropriate, which is which should never be the case, because it's vague. It can happen after a century, after 50 years or a century. So I think it's up to us, the parliamentarians, to really push the central government to really implement devolution.
Is there appetite in Parliament for devolution to be fully effected? I mean, I'm not seeing it as an issue that members of Parliament from both sides of the aisle are passionate about. Is it something that somebody in Parliament is passionate about?
Personally, I am passionate about it, and
right.
I also have some colleagues who were in councils previously, and we have been trying to push through our committee. And I think for now, that's why the government has started distributing, devolution funds, even though there is no enabling legislation to that effect. But I'm sure. I think another setback to this process is the constitutional amendment number 2, which proposed that members of parliament and senators should not sit in the provincial councils. So I think they are waiting for these amendments to be debated in parliament, so that when this provincial councils act is enacted, it will not be amended after this is come through. So I think it's going to be delayed again.
So you've raised the issue of constitutional amendment number 2, which seeks to make the necessary changes for devolution to take place. Where are we as far as that amendment is concerned? And again, is there the appetite in Parliament to ensure that there's a speedy passage of that amendment?
Yes, it was at the debate stage. I sit in the Justice and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, Portfolio Committee, and we did the consultations. Then the report, the committee report was tabled in Parliament, and MPs had started debating before the adjournment. So I think as soon as we resume Parliament, and the debate is going to to continue and soon to be tabled in Senate, then we'll have a position. But then,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
But then the MPs are divided as to what should really happen. Whether the MPs should we should continue to sit as per the provisions of the Constitution, or there are quite a few who are going for the amendment to make them not sit in the provincial councils.
So you are saying, Muchi, that the MPs are divided, and this is because this is a threat. It threatens their power, isn't it? It says you will not sit at a local level. You are now at a central level in parliament. So your benefits and the powers associated with you being able to sit, to double dip, as it were, that's going to stop. And you're saying there's opposition to that?
Yes, but the bottom line is not about resources, about MPs benefiting, but it's about them being left out in the decision-making process in the provinces where they come from. So the proponents for the continuation with the constitutional provision is basically on the issue of them being left out in the planning processes in the areas where they come from. It's not about the getting anything from the provinces.
Okay. So what's your view? What view do you take? Which sides of the argument do you sit?
I support what the Constitution says.
And tell me why. Why do you support that?
Because when decisions are made, when plans are made, we represent the people, right? We were elected to represent the people. And when decisions are made without our involvement, then it really becomes difficult for us to play our roles as MPs, because our roles as MPs is oversight role to make the laws and also to spearhead development in our constituencies. So that developmental aspect is going to be taken away from us.
And there's resistance to that.
Yes, quite a number of MPs are resistant to that.
How do you see this issue being resolved?
Well, the sad part is there are some MPs from the other side who do not want to lose their powers, but we all know that the parliament works through the whipping system, and they'll be whipped to go by the constitutional amendment. So that's what I foresee.
Let's look now at who benefits from this current conversation that we are having at grassroots level. Whether you as a minister, or rather not minister, but member of parliament, sit at those local government structures. Is it not ideal that the people at the grassroots are left to make their own decisions and then come to you as a member of parliament in parliament to say, this is what we've decided to do? How do you see the interface being affected by this amendment with the people? Because it's the people that we're talking about, isn't it? It's the grassroots people that we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Let's not forget that initially, when the Constitution was made, the people are the ones who said, we want our members of parliament to be in the provincial councils. So now we have a situation whereby a very few people, are making that decision to say, no, we don't want MPs to sit in the provincial councils. Let's not forget that this has not been implemented.
Sure.
But already changes are being proposed. But the majority of the people spoke in 2013.
Speak to me, Much, now about why these changes are being suggested.
So that's where my argument is coming from.
I hear you. Why are these changes being made now, before we even implement the devolution exercise concept?
Unfortunately, there are no reasons as to why they want to implement these changes. They just bring the bill to the committee, and we go out into the field to meet the public and hear their views. And the majority of the people were saying, no, we haven't implemented these provisions and already you want to change. So during our public consultations, the people spoke and said, we don't want these changes.
Let's now go to precedents, Muchi. In terms of, you've seen how devolution has been implemented in Kenya, you've seen how devolution has been implemented in Switzerland, and you've seen how devolution has been implemented in South Africa. My sense is that in those countries that we've just highlighted right now, the members of parliament do not sit at that grassroots level. Am I right or am I wrong?
I'll begin with Kenya.
Yes.
The members of parliament in Kenya sit in the provincial councils.
Okay.
And they are the vehicles for development because they are really empowered. There's nothing that happens in their constituencies without their involvement. They are the ones that are responsible for the building of schools, building of clinics or hospitals, responsible for road construction and road maintenance. So they are really empowered through devolution.
That's Kenya. And this the South African example. My sense is that in South Africa, if you sit in a parliament in Cape Town, you don't sit in a parliament in the local structures. Am I right there, or I'm getting things wrong?
Yeah, in South Africa, yes, the members of parliament are not part of the provincial councils. Yes, because their structure is different from the Kenyan one.
Okay, and you have chosen to go with the Kenyan one, it looks like.
With the Kenyan one, yes, okay. Because the South African model and the ones that we have, and comparing with the Kenyan one, ours is more inclined to Kenya than the one in South Africa.
So you've said, Muchi, that during the formulation of our constitution, 2013 constitution, the people say they wanted devolution. And we now have a provision, chapter 14 of the constitution that gives effect to devolution. What is being done at the central government level to ensure that that message that we want devolution is fully embraced by the local people, and the local people appreciate that devolution is coming? Are you coming across the demand from the people saying, when is it happening? How is it going to happen? Or people are completely in the dark?
People are really expectant, and they are answering, and they are asking, when is the process going to be implemented? Not only are our people, we also have various stakeholders. We have different civil organizations that are really pushing for devolution to be implemented, which is quite commendable, because the people at the local level, they speak through us. The moment that the civil organization comes, raise their voices are heard loudly, and it keeps the government on their toes.
So in your view, I mean, from what we just covered right now, there does seem to be some roadblocks in the way for devolution. Were you to make a call, do you think by the time we have elections in 2023, we're going to have devolution in place, or this is an exercise that's going to be delayed for some time? Where do you sit there, Muchi?
I'm sure by the time we get to 2023, devolution would have been implemented. I'm sure the ball is already the ball is already rolling.
Okay.
Yeah, the delays that I'm seeing is just because of this pandemic. I'm sure would have been somewhere by now, because Parliament had already made strides in making sure that devolution is set in place.
Let me rephrase this question again. What problems is devolution trying to solve?
Devolution is trying to solve the problem of bureaucracy. whereby all the decisions are made at the central government level. And it also trying to remove red tape, whereby the central government is responsible for everything. And if applications are being made, it's being made at the central level, you know. So devolution will bring in, you know, let me just say, ease of doing business. And it also means that people at the local level will make decisions of their own, and also resources are going to be utilized within the provinces, because the provincial councils will make their own budgets and also look for revenue within their provinces, and like just waiting for funding from the central government. In as much as you know, there will be budget provisions for the provinces and the local authorities.
So is there capacity at the grassroots level to ensure that this concept is fully embraced and fully enjoyed by people at the grassroots level? Are there civic education exercises to ensure that there is active citizen participation as far as this new concept is concerned? Because it's something new. People have been used to looking up to Harare for answers to all their problems. Now you're saying they are now responsible for their social, economic, and to a certain extent, political future. Do they fully embrace that? Have they been capacitated to be able to handle those issues?
There hasn't been much civic education going on about devolution, but I'm sure that the people really know what they want. They want to see decision makers at their own level being able to represent them, to implement developmental projects that they require. And they know that what has been really lacking is the funding. So the moment that the local authorities and provincial councils are empowered financially, then to the people at the grassroots level, it's a prayer answered.
Tell me, Muchi, now, do we need to, are we going to be reinventing structures, or the structures that currently exist will be able to facilitate the implementation of devolution? Do we need to create new structures, new forums, or things of that nature to facilitate devolution?
At local authorities level, nothing is going to change, because it's the elected councillors and the council officials who are going to be implementing the devolution processes at the local level. Then at provincial, at the provincial level, that's when that's when a new the new structure is going to come into place, because they are elected provincial councillors that are just sitting idle as we speak, who were elected in 2018, but they can't function because there is no enabling act.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
And actually the composition as we speak is awaiting this constitutional amendment, because it's the provincial councillors, the MPs, senators, traditional chiefs, who should make up the provincial council.
And in terms of the training of those provincial, district, local government officials and personnel, the structures in terms of budgeting and so forth, you are comfortable that those structures are sufficient to deliver devolution in an efficient manner?
Yes, I'm sure that they will have the capacity to implement devolution in a professional manner.
Are there any concerns? What are your biggest concerns as far as, let's put aside the constitutional amendment issue, which is in motion as soon as Parliament opens? What are your biggest concerns as far as the implementation of devolution is concerned as we sit here, Muchi?
The biggest concern as of now is the role that is going to be played by the provincial ministers. Provincial ministers, there are provincial ministers that oversee, the how provinces are run.
Yeah.
And the constitutional provision for that is that they are not included as members of the provincial and metropolitan councils.
Right.
Because the time the constitution was made, it made provincial governors redundant, but then a new title was brought in, the provincial ministers. So the constitution is silent about that. So it's going to be really a bone of contention as to how they are going to be part of it, because there's no way that they're going to be left behind in this process.
And yet the amendment says they ought not to be part of that process.
Yes.
Okay. And you're saying you're fighting in your local parliamentary committee to ensure that that is taken care of, but you're concerned that you might be whipped into line.
Yes, exactly. And also another concern is the equitable distribution of resources when the budget will be made. There are provinces that are really rich in minerals, and there are those that do not have any form of resources, to really sustain the development in their provinces. So I think it's up to us now to really say there should be equitable distribution of the national resources for devolution.
So clearly you have certain communities that are rich in resources, tourism, and other natural resources like minerals and that kind of stuff, and you have others that don't have. And that's your concern, that what do you do in the allocation of resources? Have we come up with a formula of any sort from the Minister of Finance in terms of how that is going to be taken care of?
No, there hasn't really been a formula to that effect. So I think by the time that we go for the national budget for 2021, I'm sure the Minister of Finance will have come up with a formula, because we demanded that during the 2020 budget formulation.
For me, this is an exciting thing, Muchi, that finally the people at the grassroots get to have a direct say on how they are going to be governed, that they don't have to be waiting for the politicians to parachute themselves into their communities when the elections are around the corner, that the people themselves are going to be in the coalface of developmental issues. This is a good thing, isn't it?
Definitely, because people would really be happy, because they'll see development taking place on an annual basis, and like the situation whereby they only see development a year or 2 years before the elections, because politicians will be coming to look for votes.
And the development agenda will take the shape and form that the local people, through their active participation, so desire, isn't it?
Exactly.
Which in any case, you don't see the more tension coming out of there from between the central government and the people on the ground in terms of those priorities. I mean, let's concede that this is a new concept, that you guys in Parliament will still be wanting to peep in and see what's happening, but the people at the local level will have their own priorities.
Yes, definitely. What I've observed is what the people in Marondera need is what the people in Kadoma need. What the people in Blawai need is the same as what the people in Harare need. There isn't much difference. The people in urban areas expect the same things. The people in rural areas expect the same things. Be it you are in Wange, be it you are in Berengwa, be it you are in Uzumba Marambafungo, be it you are in Mondoro. So the expectations are the same. When those expectations are met or are seen to be met, then I'm sure people will just be happy.
Let me. There's a bit of clarity that I require. I need here. that for you as you sit there, you are for members of parliament sitting in local structures. That's what you're saying, isn't it?
Yes.
But your view is that that's not a popular view from the authorities that have brought in this constitutional amendment. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
But one would have thought you are saying that the people are behind you in wanting their parliamentarians to be part of the local structures.
Okay, because we are that's where we are coming from. Is the people, we represent the people, and the people want us to be there when decisions are being made on their behalf, and we are the ones who make those decisions. We should be making those decisions.
Right. So for me, that appears much that you've got the force of argument on your side, the power of argument on your side, and that you should be able to easily win this thing if you guys stand up to the people that are bringing in this this amendment. Is there any hope for that?
Yes, the way I look at it, it's there is hope. There is hope because really the members of parliament would not want their powers to be taken away from them.
There's hope there, and hopefully we hope that the persuasive and right argument wins the day, as it were. Any other issues that are of concern to you, Muchi, as the implementation of devolution rolls out?
There isn't much, just except the slow pace at which this process has been taking. So I'm sure that now we have also added your voice to how devolution is taking too long to be implemented. And if more and more civil organizations would really make noise about it, I'm sure the central government would really see that this is long overdue. And it will also energize the members of parliament to push this devolution process to come to finality.
And just to clarify again, there is unanimity within Parliament from both sides of the aisle that devolution is the right thing to do, given the fact that the Constitution makes that provision. Is there unanimity there?
Yes, there's unanimity.
And so if there is unanimity, and indeed there is the support from civil society, which should strengthen you guys with the implementation of devolution, one hopes that your dreams and the passion that you have for devolution, we should see some progress as soon as this amendment issue is brought before you.
Yes, exactly, Trevor.
Right. In terms of the finances, have you seen whether there is a formula of some sort in terms of from the Ministry of Finance, how the allocation is going to be made to you? Already you're saying some money has been allocated. What formula has been used to make that allocation?
Unfortunately, the only formula that they said they were going to use is according to the population of the province. But we said we want a more scientific formula. So the minister said, promised that during the 2021 budget formulation process, that's when they are going to come up with a more robust and more scientific formula to use for the budgeting and the allocation of devolution funds to the provinces.
And have you seen any progress as far as that is concerned?
We can only see that when the budget is when we are making the budget, the budget process, which we should kickstart in October.
The one example that I saw that's interesting, Muchi, is the Switzerland example, where the devolution empowers people at grassroots level to make regular inputs in terms of how they're going to be governed, and the issue of plebiscites, the issue of referendums, coming in. Do you see that being part of our own devolution exercise, where we be going back to the people regularly in terms of having their input on how they want their finances, political structures, and social issues to be looked at?
Yeah, that's the only thing that I can see happening, the consultation process, but not coming to referendums per se, because
Okay.
Switzerland and you know most of the Western the Western Europe countries, their forms of government is quite different from ours. We can't have referendums, you know, in Zimbabwe, except when we are only making the constitution, when we are making a new constitution, or we want to amend some sections of the constitution. But what will happen is the consultation process, especially towards the budget, the budgeting period. That's when consultations will be made.
I'm thinking, as you're talking, Muchi, about an issue where, let's take, for instance, the Gwai River issue as far as it relates to Matabeleland, or let's say a project that at provincial level is perceived to be important, but at central government level, it's not considered to be a priority. Who gets the way in those kind of circumstances? Who wins the day?
As it stands, the central government wins, but when devolution is implemented, then it's the local people who win at the end of the day. Why? Because they know that this project is really critical in the affairs of their lives. So if they really do not prioritize that project, then they are the ones that are going to suffer in terms of development, in terms of livelihoods. Devolution will be a game changer because the provinces will really look at the most critical projects that should be implemented within their provinces, and they'll channel funds towards those projects.
Now, if devolution is going to be a game changer, why are we not seeing a much more passionate positioning by the people, their local representatives, and to some extent, Parliament? Why are we not seeing song and dance around the issue of devolution, Muchi? You are the only one who seems to be passionate about devolution.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part. We have very few that are really passionate about devolution. I think it's because of the exposure that I have had, you know, in my previous experiences, and I know the frustrations that come with people expecting so much, yet there won't be much revenue to implement, you know, those projects that the people will be looking forward to. So devolution will come in with quite a substantial amount of funding, and we'll try by all means to really, as the local government committee, to push for this devolution agenda.
I mean, for me, that's concerning very much, that we are not seeing the passion. Does this mean that our politicians are comfortable with the oversized role that central government plays at local government level, with negative consequences for the people in the grassroots?
Yeah, from the way that I see is that the majority of the representatives are really, they are not in sync or in tandem with what what's bothering the people on the ground.
Wow. How do we address that?
It's a difficult it's a difficult question, but what I think needs to be done is for the civil society to really come on board and they have sessions with parliamentarians, because I believe that at the end of the day, the parliamentarians will just realize that what the people from their constituencies really need can actually be solved by devolution.
Much what you've just said there to me says, if these members of parliament are not passionate about devolution, why should they sit at local government level? Why should they sit in local structures? If all that they're concerned about is being in Harare and sitting in parliament in Harare and not devolving power, distribution of resources to the people at grassroots level. Why should they be given, accommodated in those structures?
The way that I see it, or the way that I view is devolution as a process.
Yeah,
can be quite technical. Some of us, they might not be knowledgeable as to how devolution actually helps the communities. Maybe they just think that devolution is just one of those things, one of those terms. Really, so the moment that they are conscientized about the how devolution intends to achieve these results, I'm sure that then they would really be jump started as to for them to be passionate about it.
In your view, who needs to be conscientized more, the members of parliament or the people at grassroots level?
I'm sure it's best to start with the members of parliament.
That says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know.
Because if you are sitting in Harare as a member of parliament, representing, let's say, Good to South or Matabeleland North or whatever, Cholocho, for instance, and you need to be conscientized about the fact that the people that elected you need you more than you sitting in parliament. It means there's something wrong with our politics, Muchi.
Definitely there's something wrong about our politics.
Our priorities don't seem to be in the right order. Am I right, Muchi?
No, priorities, they know the priorities, but then how to come about, or how to have those priorities, being pushed forward, right, might be the challenge. Yes. Like I'm saying that you can take one member of parliament and interview them about devolution. You'll not be surprised that they'll be blank.
Wow. Wow.
So that's why I said the civil organizations now need really to come into the fore and really take members of parliament through the paces as to what is devolution and the positives that devolution will bring about.
And is Parliament itself not doing anything to educate the members of Parliament? Because you seem to be pointing out at civil society organizations. Is Parliament itself not educating members of Parliament about the importance of devolution?
Parliament hasn't done much, except through the local government committee. We are the ones that were taken through the places by not by Parliament, by I think 2 organizations. Should be 20 in last year, early last year. That's when some organizations came on board to talk about devolution. But Parliament as an institution doesn't done anything to that effect.
What does that say to you, Muchi?
Well, it's a sad situation.
Right. Muchi, as we round up our conversation, what are your thoughts, your parting shots in terms of what needs to be done to expedite devolution and to get rid of all these roadblocks that are in the way of implementation of devolution? And what are your dreams as far as devolution is concerned?
What I think should be done is for us members of Parliament to really take the matters into our own hands and really push for devolution to be implemented, for the enabling pieces of legislation to be enacted, because that is the starting point. We can't have the implementation of devolution without the enabling pieces of legislation. So that's the starting point. We as members of Parliament really need to push for that. Then the civic organization, like I said before, they really need to come on board and push Parliament and push the executive to implement devolution. because those pieces of legislation that I'm talking about, they emanate from the executive, from the responsible ministries. So if the civil organizations can really push the responsible ministers to do that, that will also help us as members of parliament as well.
I'm going to throw the ball back at you, Muchi, and say you are the elected representatives. Instead of expecting civil society to do this, you are the guys that in parliament ought to be jumping up and down and say we want devolution because our people said they wanted devolution. Am I being unfair on you?
No, you're quite right. But then we can make a certain level of noise depending on how we understand it, right? Like I said before, that quite a few number of MPs really are passionate about devolution, or they really understand what devolution is. But if the civic organization also make more noise, that will help as well.
Much, thank you so much for joining me in our this episode of In Conversation with Trevor, where we are looking at the concept of devolution and how it's being rolled out. You've identified a number of problems that stand in the way, but you sound like you're passionate, and hopefully your passion infects more of us and more members of parliament and more members of your political parties to realize that this is for the benefit of the people at grassroots. It brings government and decision-making closer to the people. So Muchi, thank you so much for the time that you've set aside to be with us. Allow me to turn now to our viewers all across the world who watch this show every week to say thank you so much for watching In Conversation with Trevor. Remember, In Conversation with Trevor is a weekly show. So for you not to miss out on any of these shows, please press on this subscribe button and you receive a notification every time we have a new show. These are quality conversations which you don't want to miss. So until next time, cheers to you all.